Even the dog could do better, my dad said, pushing his plate away while my family chuckled. I kept quiet, but my son, still holding his spoon, leaned forward and said 5 words that made my dad turn pale. If you cooked like you lived your life, no wonder no one sticks around, my dad said, dropping his fork with a clatter. Dad. My sister began, but the smirk on her lips said she wasn't really defending me. Even the dog could do better, he added, pushing his plate away. Laughter rippled around the table. I forced my jaw still. I'd learned silence was safer, until my son, still gripping his spoon, leaned toward him and said, "Grandpa, why did you take my dad's house? Who I am?" My name's Daniel Reese. 27 years old. I've been called a lot of things in this family. Ungrateful, lazy, stubborn. But never what I actually am. Tired. Tired of being the quiet one. Tired of being the one they lean on and step over in the same breath. Tonight, though, my son just ripped the curtain wide open. The cast. Dad, Richard, 64. Retired police officer. Believes his word is law, even when it's wrong. Mom, Helen, 62. Keeps the peace by keeping her head down, even when it means ignoring the truth. Sister, Laura, 34. Daddy's girl, quick to mock, quicker to take. Son, Evan, 8. Doesn't know all the details, but knows enough to ask the question no one else dares. "What's this about?" Dad asked, voice sharp. I swallowed hard. "You know exactly what it's about." Laura rolled her eyes. "Oh, here we go again. You signed the deed over." "No," I cut in. "I signed the paperwork for a refinance so you could pay off your gambling debt, Dad. You told me it was temporary. 6 months. That was 3 years ago." Dad leaned back in his chair, arms crossed like a judge about to hand down a sentence. "I put a roof over your head for 18 years, boy. Don't act like I owe you a thing." I stared at him, my nails digging crescents into my palm under the table. "That was your job, Dad. It's what parents are supposed to do." I heard my voice shake, but I wasn't sure if it was anger or exhaustion. Laura laughed, that brittle, glassy sound she used when she knew she was safe behind him. "Maybe if you worked harder, you wouldn't be crying about a mortgage. People buy their own houses all the time, Danny." The jab hit hard. My throat burned, but I didn't look away. Evan's eyes darted between us, his little hands gripping his spoon so tight his knuckles went white. I'd been here before, the cornered animal at the family table, made small enough to fit in their narrative. But this time, my son was watching. This time, I wasn't going to roll over. 3 years ago, Dad had shown up at my apartment at midnight. I still remember the sound of his boots on the hallway tiles. Sharp, impatient, like I was already late for something I hadn't agreed to. "Bank's breathing down my neck," he'd said, pacing my living room without even taking his coat off. "They're gonna take the house if I don't refinance." I asked why he couldn't do it himself. He said his credit was complicated. I didn't know that complicated meant demolished by gambling debts. He promised it was temporary, 6 months, that was all. I could keep living there, and the house would stay in the family. 1 month later, I came home to find the locks changed. A stranger answered the door, Dad's new tenant. When I confronted him, he told me, "Family means sacrifice." At the time, I believed him. Now all I could think was, funny how sacrifice always seemed to mean me giving and him taking. Evan's question was the first crack. I decided to smash the whole damn wall. "Laura, do you want to tell Dad about the savings account?" Her smirk faltered. "What savings account?" "The one Dad emptied to pay off your credit cards." The room went dead quiet. Mom's fork froze midair like she'd been caught in a still frame. I turned to Dad. "You told me that money was for Evan's college. Mom's inheritance, my share. You just never thought I'd find out, did you?" Dad's jaw flexed, the muscle ticking. "That's not your business." "It was my business," I said, my voice steady now. "It was my money. Laura's cheeks flushed a hot red. This is ridiculous. You're twisting everything. But I saw it. The way she avoided my eyes. The way Mom's hands trembled. For the first time in years, I wasn't the one shrinking under the table's weight. They were. Laura slammed her napkin down so hard the salt shaker rattled. "I'm not doing this," she spat, pushing her chair back. Her heels clicked down the hallway until the sound disappeared. Mom's eyes shone wet, but she didn't speak. She'd perfected the art of silent guilt. Dad stood, his knuckles white against the table edge. His shadow fell across me like a threat. "You think you're better than us? You think you're owed something because life's been hard for you?" I stayed seated, looking straight at him. "No. I think I'm done letting you take from me. You've had enough." For a man who always had the last word, his silence was louder than any scream. He sat back down slowly, like someone who just realized the fight was over, and not in his favor. I stood, my chair scraping the tile. Evan's small hand slid into mine without hesitation. We walked to the door. I didn't look back, not even when I heard Mom's voice break behind me. She followed me to the porch, her sweater pulled tight around her like armor. "Danny, I didn't know about the account," she whispered, voice trembling. I searched her eyes, but all I saw was a woman who'd spent her whole life balancing on a rope between truth and loyalty, and calling it peace. Maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe she wasn't. Right now, I didn't care. The night air felt cold, but clean, like fresh oxygen after years of breathing smoke. The car ride was silent except for the hum of the tires. Evan kept his eyes on the dark blur of the roadside trees. After a while, he asked quietly, "Are we okay now?" I squeezed his hand. "We're getting there." The next few months were a slow rebuilding. No more surprise calls from Dad demanding help. No more family dinners that felt like staged trials. I bought a small place of my own. Not much, but it was mine. Every creak in the floorboard was my creak. Every dent in the wall was my dent. Mom started calling more often. At first, it was small talk. Then, little questions. Why did your father take the deed? Did Laura really? I could hear the cracks forming in her loyalty to him, but I didn't push. I'd learned something in all this. You can't heal where you're still being hurt. And sometimes, walking away isn't losing. It's winning in a language they'll never speak. If you've ever had to cut ties with toxic family, share your story in the comments. Would you have confronted them at the table like I did, or stayed silent? Like if you believe breaking the cycle matters. Subscribe for more real, raw stories like this. Because sometimes the truth is the only way forward.